Today, I want to talk about something that I see quite a lot of, and that is the hesitation that we can feel when we're trying something new, particularly when it comes to online fitness programs. So, I had this really interesting conversation during the last couple of weeks with a potential client, and they perfectly highlighted this common struggle. So I wanted to spend some time today exploring this because that reluctancy that we can have to step outside of our comfort zone can actually be the thing that actually holds us back from what it was that we want to achieve, or that what is truly going to work for where we are in life right now. And so, whether that be the fear of unknown, whether it's doubt in our abilities to be able to work with that program in particular, or whether it's the fact that we're comfortable with what we are familiar with, even though it may not be working for us, it can be the thing that really stops us from discovering solutions that can totally transform our health, our confidence, and our well-being. Now, this topic is really close to my heart because I've seen hundreds of women who have overcome this initial resistance and have found great success with different types of approaches that they may have initially dismissed. So if you have ever been that person who has gone, no, that's not for me, then I want you to think about taking a listen today and to see whether there is anything there that clicks for you that you go, hang on a minute, it might be worthwhile giving it a go. So let me talk about what happened. Let's start with that. So I spoke with a potential client. She'd been following us for quite some time. And what happened was I shared a feature that was done on us with in Bold Voices. So this was from shout out to Bold Health for giving us that opportunity to talk about what health and well-being means to us. So she had seen this feature and she reached out and she said, what I really, really like about you guys is that you keep it real. And so we jumped on a call and we spent quite a bit of time talking about her health, her well-being, her fitness goals, and what they meant. And we got down to this deeper level about what does it mean now, but what does it mean in the future as well too. And so she decided that she was going to join our 5-week fitness foundation. Now, this is a program that is specifically designed as a starting point. So it's where we assess baselines, movement patterns, and during that assessment, we're looking at building some solid foundations in stability, strength, and endurance. And it's a great way to be able to prepare yourself safely so that you can move into more intensive programs down the line. But then what happened was this back and forth started to happen. So the very next day, I got this email saying, okay, this is not for me. So online, no, it's not for me. Now, I completely understand this hesitation because I've seen it many times with some of our long-term clients who have felt exactly that way initially. But I reminded her that there was a money back guarantee, which meant she literally had nothing to lose by giving it a go. And so she said, yeah, okay, yes, all right, that makes sense. And I'm still going to continue. And I said, okay, great. So we had booked in her first session. But then the next day I got another email and it basically said, no, this isn't for me. So look, I promptly wished her well, and knowing what it was that she needed to get started, I sent her a guide that I had that was going to help her get started. I refunded her money, and then I did say to her, look, I understand that starting something new is scary because we all feel that way. And it is because we are getting out of our comfort zones. But sometimes those getting out of our comfort zones is exactly where we find the greatest value, and we start to have some level of growth, or we start to reach those goals that we want to reach. And so, and I see this pattern constantly, that the things that we put up as roadblocks, that that resistance is completely normal and makes perfect sense from a psychological perspective, because our brains are wired to want to have the familiar, and because the familiar is the thing that serves us well, even though it may not be getting us to where we want to get to. So let's explore in a little bit more detail this online isn't for me myth. When I started to think about this, I started to think about Julie. Julie had been a runner, a dedicated runner, ran every single day. But what happened was her knees had been giving her grief, her back had been giving her grief, and so she had stopped running. And look, she knew that she needed to strength train because, there's so much information about resistance training out there, um, that she went, yeah, okay, I need to do it. But she never became committed to it because the familiar for her was running, right? And so what happened was Julie attended an event that I was a guest speaker at. And so a friend and her would get together and have a walk every Sunday, and they still do that. And her friend Veronica, they were talking about, what they might do. And so Julie mentioned meeting me at this event to Veronica, and Veronica reached out and we had a phone call because, they were both really frustrated with feeling broken in their bodies from the injuries, and they wanted to find some type of solution that was going to serve them now. And so I think it's best to tell it as Julie told it to me. And so here's what she said. I had never really thought too much about an online program, as I didn't really think it was for me. I was lucky enough to meet Peter at a Beyond Blue fundraiser where she was the speaker. And I remember thinking how so inspiring. And I mentioned this to my friend, and from there we contacted Peter, and the rest is history. And so 6 months later, Julie has not missed a single solitary session. So 6 months into it, she was working out 4 days a week. And it wasn't just about this convenience factor, because what she discovered was that this completely transformed her ability to stay consistent, because she could get out of bed of a morning, walk her dog, and then do her training session. So it just fitted perfectly into her schedule for her. But here's what's really, really important. She now feels stronger. Her knee and back issues have dramatically improved. And in fact, this is a few years ago, she has not had any type of back issues in the last couple of years. And so I recall her telling me a story about this, a big delivery had come at work, and her boss said, "Oh, I'll get that box for you." And she said, "No, no, I can get it." And she said in the past, she would have hesitated because her back would have been a little bit iffy, but she got straight down there, big squat, lifted it up. It was quite heavy. And she just went, "Wow, look at how strong I am now." And so in her words, she said, "Look, I have no hesitation in recommending an online program. It's the best thing that I've ever done." So, you know, there's lots of reasons that online programs can be a bit of a hesitation. And it is that we might think that our ability to stay motivated without actually having someone in our space is a bit of a deterrent. The other thing is that we might worry about that we're not going to be able to have the proper form, or that we might potentially injure ourselves because there isn't somebody in that space with us. Or it could possibly be that you've tried an online program before and it just didn't stick for you. And remember, not all online programs are exactly the same. In fact, a lot of them are very, very different. And so, and the other thing is that, look, we're just creatures of habit. It's as simple as that. And so even when something isn't working for us, it's just easier to stick with what we're doing. But here's the thing, the right online program with proper coaching, personalized attention to your movement patterns, and having some type of supportive community can completely change your well-being journey. So let's explore this online thing beyond convenience. Because while many people come to it because it is convenient, they stay for a lot of other reasons. And so that convenience factor is the door opening, but it's not what keeps you there. So firstly, the thing about it is that you've got this individualized progressions that adapt to your specific needs. So it's very different to turning up to a group fitness session and following the same routine and everybody's doing exactly the same thing, because that doesn't cater for everybody's body being different, or what type of injury, or how you're feeling right at that point. The second thing is that you can develop these proper foundations, so that what happens is that when you move into more challenging movement patterns, that you've got some type of method that helps you prevent injuries, and it is more sustainable for you. Now, the third thing is that you've got these coaches that have a personal history with where you're at right now, because all of the coaches that we have, we're all over the age of 50. And in fact, some of us are over the age of 60. And so, but we understand what your personal history is. So, and we can identify your patterns over time. And so that relationship that's built over that period of time allows us to target our guidance, which is fantastic, because you wouldn't be getting that when you go to a random class and you have different instructors. Now, the next thing is that you have this level of accountability because you've got that consistent schedule without the commute, right? And so many of our clients tell us that, that they've been able to maintain consistency for, 10, in some cases, even close to 20 years because they're not doing the commute. They're saving themselves 10 to even in some cases 30, 40 minutes, both ways at the end of a gym session and at the beginning of a gym session. So it makes a huge difference. And the other thing is that you will find that even though you are online, that you've got other women there that completely understand the challenges and that they're connecting with you from an online perspective. And you share these similar goals and these similar obstacles. So online doesn't mean that you can't build connections as well too. And so that initial resistance that we feel when we consider an online program, it's completely normal, right? But on the other side of that hesitation, it's where real change can actually happen. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is to actually try something new that might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. And you know what? Your future self is going to thank you for it. So just this week, I love hiking and I have a mountain just basically down the road. And so, but it's closed. They're doing the roads in the big storms that we've had have been washed away. And so there's a lot of work that they've got to do to get that up to scratch. And so it's like, okay, where am I going to take these grandkiddos hiking? And so there was one place that I hadn't been to, and it feels like I don't know which way to go. They're saying to me, which way are we going? Are we going this way, Nanny? Are we going that way? And I'm going, don't know, but let's go this way. There's a sign, that's what we're looking for. And so let's just go exploring. And there was such wonderful history there. It was the opportunity to learn about the town that I grew up with that I never even realized that there was a castle on that hill originally and what happened with that castle after it. And so, and we got to explore the mining history of the town as well too. And so it did feel a little bit, butterfly in tummy type stuff when we started off, but it didn't stop us from actually having a great time. And we found something that was quite thrilling, and we all got to do something new and exciting at exactly the same time, which was fabulous. So I like to finish these up with a move moment. So this is something that we can do so that we get more physically active, something that you could do whilst you're just sitting here, standing or listening and walking maybe. So I want you to just draw your shoulders back for me and then just let them relax. And then take some deep breaths. So I want you to inhale for the count of 4. I want you to exhale for the count of 6. And I want you to pay attention to how your shoulders are. Now, if you are anything like me, you might have noticed there was an adjustment in those shoulders because you might be currently hunching forward over a device like I am quite a lot. And so that slight adjustment might feel outside your comfort zones. It might feel a little unnatural, but it is allowing you to check in with your body and to sit up a little straighter and to focus on your posture and allow yourself to breathe a little better and to give your organs a little bit of space in your body. So what I want you to do is today, just every time you feel yourself starting to come a little bit more forward, I want you to catch yourself and I want you to come back in and do some posture checks. Now, today is all about just moving a little fraction outside of our comfort zones. And so what we've explored today was that we do have this natural resistance to trying something new, particularly when it comes to anything online, like an online fitness program. And so what we have explored is pushing through that initial discomfort and finding some unexpected benefits that can totally outweigh that temporary unease that we feel during change. It's a little bit like that move moment where, it felt a little bit strange to pull back our shoulders, but once we took that deep breath, it was like, oh, I actually feel taller. I feel better, right? And so what we've learned is that growth can happen at the edge of our comfort zone. So trying something new isn't something that's temporary. What we want to do is we want to challenge ourselves to give it a fair go. So maybe 3 weeks or maybe something a little longer. So your challenge this week is to think about, what is it that I've been thinking about doing? Okay. Is it to try a new fitness program? Is it to try a different way of eating? Is it to simply get up 5 minutes earlier and start a new, different morning routine? Or to change your nighttime routine? It doesn't matter what it is, but I want you to give it a fair go. And I want you to try it for a little bit longer than I just did it once and it just didn't work, because that just isn't enough time. And so what we want to do is we want to give it the time and the space for us to truly find out whether it works and whether it actually is for us and whether we see some level of results. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you got something out of it. Remember, give it a go. Try something that is just a little bit different today and go ahead and tell me what it is. Tag me and let me know what it is that you tried, that you discovered that it was okay to get outside your comfort zone. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.